Julhana Productions presents
Magnificent Massachusetts!
Squanto in the house, dog. From being a city on a hill to dealing with rebellious women, Massachusetts has been full of controversial events since its founding day in 1630.
John Winthrop, a Puritan searching for religious freedom, was the first governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony. Let's take a closer look at this fascinating colony.
The Separatists, or Pilgrims, who had settled by Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts, had a very positive relationship with the local Indians, the Wampanoag. Wampanoag means people of the East, or people of the early light. In fact, the Pilgrims signed a peace treaty with this tribe. In return, Squanto, a member of the Pauxtet tribe, assisted them during their first winter in the New World, which was essential to their survival. He was able to communicate easily with these radical Puritans because he spoke English from when he was captured by the Englishman Thomas Hunt. Squanto taught the Pilgrims how to farm, plant Indian corn, and how to cook the corn. Also, he helped the Pilgrims make friends with other Indian tribes. He was such an enormous help that William Bradford declared him a special instrument sent from God to help them survive.
Massachusetts colonists focused on fishing, corn, and livestock breeding. These activities resulted in food and trading materials. Since the winters were cold, farming did not produce a surplus of goods. Instead, they spent more time fishing year-round to make a profit. Also, they were near many water sources, which allowed for easier access to more fishing locations.
Massachusetts Bay Colony and Plymouth Rock were both founded for religious freedom. While Plymouth Rock's population consisted of separatists, who were radical Puritans who wished to be completely separated from the Anglican Church of England, Massachusetts Bay Colony's population was mainly Puritans. These Puritans came during the Great Migration, which was a time through 1630 to 1640. Approximately 20,000 colonists came to New England during this massive emigration into New England. The Puritans believed in the New England way, which was the cooperation between church and state. The symbol of this cooperation was the meeting house, which served as a sacred religious place and a place of law. Also, Puritans were very strict about educating their women and children so that the Bible's word can be read by all. However, not everyone agreed with this philosophy of the New England way.
One of the Puritans who disagreed with the New England way was Anne Hutchinson, perhaps the first American feminist who wasn't afraid of questioning the principles of faith and authority of the church. However, when Anne began to hold weekly discussions groups in her home, which had rapidly growing attendance, the authorities realized she began to pose a threat to their power over the colony. In fact, her preachings, Anne told about her belief that one's faith is strictly between that person and God, so what was the need for ministers and government officials? Therefore, they banished Anne, accusing her of antinomian heresy or breaking the law. She took refuge in Rhode Island, but was soon after killed by Indians in 1643.
Some of the major industries of the colony were lumber, fish, fur, and rum. Since there were many trees in the area of Massachusetts, the colonists would cut down trees and use them to build ships. They used oak timber for the ship's hulls, tall pines for spars and masts, and pitch for the seams of the ships, which came from the forests. They built their own ships and sailed to ports all over the world. In fact, 1/3 of all the ships under the British control were built in New England. Ship stores, woodenware, and fish became major exports. As mentioned before, the colonists lived near water, so they had a surplus of fish. Overall, trade was a major part of life for the colonists of Massachusetts. The Puritans of the Massachusetts Bay Colony had a very distinctive culture and way of life. Because Puritans usually migrated to New England as an entire family group, the families were very large, usually having 5 or more children. These children were never named after biblical angels, such as Christopher, Gabriel, Michael, or Angel, because society believed that children were too unworthy to have such names. These first Puritans were also very strict. From not believing in Christmas Day celebrations to disapproving recreational activities, their main priority was always to praise God. In addition, they believed simple, colorless clothing to be proper. The Salem witch trials were a series of hearings that were used to prosecute people accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts between February of 1692 and May of 1693. 14 women and 5 men were hanged in the gallows. One man was crushed to death by the weight of a heavy stone after he refused to admit that he was secretly a witch. At the time, young girls were forbidden to act out or express themselves. Consequently, they became captivated by magical stories and fortune-telling games. These activities were strictly forbidden, therefore causing them to be filled with fear and guilt. This may have been one reason for their hysterical behavior, which the townspeople interpreted as witchcraft. Mission accomplished.
The story began in 1614, when a band of English explorers sailed home to England with a ship full of Patauks Indians bound for slavery. They left behind smallpox, which virtually wiped out those who escaped. By the time the Pilgrims arrived in Massachusetts Bay, they found only one living Patuxet Indian, and a man named Squanto, who had survived slavery in England and knew their language. When they met Squanto, the colonists were not sure if they should trust him. He said that he could help them.
I can help you.
That spring and summer, Squanto proved his worth many times over. He led them to brooks alive with herring. He showed the settlers how to fish with traps. He taught them where to stop game in the forest. Corn grew tall after Squanto showed the Pilgrims how to plant fish with the native corn seeds from the local tribe. In fall, the Pilgrims planned a feast to celebrate God's merciful help. Squanto was sent to my friendly chief Massasoit. They gathered around tables spread with venison, roast duck, and goose, turkey, shellfish, bread, and vegetables with woodland fruits and berries for dessert. The colonists gave thanks for the plentiful spread that they were about to have, and the first Thanksgiving happened. From Indian relations to Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts is one of the most enthralling colonies. We hope you learned many interesting facts. Stay tuned for more Julhana Productions.
P.S. Most of the Puritan religion eventually died out of the Massachusetts Bay Colony.
Hey, still feeling myself, I'm like out of control. Can't stop now, more shots, let's go. 10 more rounds till I get a KO. Pop around, she's trying to make me pull.